Today's episode of the Bleav in Steelers show is brought to you by betonline.ag. The Warriors and Celtics are tied after 2 games in the NBA Finals, and the NHL playoffs continues to move along. If you want to place a bet on any of the sports action, betonline.ag is the place to do it.
Yeah, 365, 7 days a week, any sport, anytime, any place. Make sure y'all go check out betonline.ag.
Head to the website on your mobile device to sign up today to get your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Bleav, that's BLEAV, to get the bonus and get into the action. Bet online where the game starts. All right, cue the music. It's time to start the show. Welcome to the Bleav in Steelers show on the Bleav Network. I'm your host, Mark Bergin, joined as always by my guy, 2-time Super Bowl champion, a 12-year veteran of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the captain, the president, the prime minister, the Lord, the master of swagging you, Ike Taylor. IT, I saw right before the start of the show, you tweeted a link. You now have swagging you shirts. We're selling on Bleav.com. I'm fired up. It's Monday. How are you doing this morning, my man?
Yeah, make sure y'all go to Bleav.com and pick up a Ike Taylor Swagger You t-shirt, man. Got the good cotton too. So it feels good even when you sleep. But Mark, man, I'm doing good right now. My dog Bruce just shook the table, make it look like everything was an earthquake. But other than that, man, we just vibing over here.
I'll take men's medium in every color that you got, Ike. I'll send over my address as well. I got to rep my guy. And we've got a loaded show. I know it's the off season, but on today's show, we'll go through top position groups in the AFC North, linebackers, cornerbacks, safeties. But we begin. Defensive end Stephon Tuitt has retired after 8 seasons in the NFL, all 8 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Ike, considering that 2020 was his best season as a Steeler, 11 sacks. And we saw last season, we talk about it all the time, Steelers were dead last in the NFL in rushing yards allowed in the 2021 season. Tuitt did not play. This is a player that the Steelers are going to dearly miss now that he's decided to hang it up.
Yeah, he was Tuitt was just different. You know, I remember playing with Tuitt. Tuitt was one of the first ones that can get up the field off a few steps. You know, he was slippery. He was greasy. You know, we used to say Tuitt used to have some oil on him. Because, man, he'll slip for his size, Mark. He's a tall guy. For his size, he can slip in or outside of guards and tackles and get up the field ASAP. So between him and Cam, you know, that was a good complimentary, not only draft pick, but just a good 1-2 punch sitting up inside. It's a reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers for a while had led the league in sacks. I'm talking about with interior linemen because of Cam and Tuitt. So that was just good. That was just, you know, good to see Tuitt do that. Then Tuitt wound up having some personal issues. You know, his brother had died, and it was real close. So that kind of bothered him. He took some time off. Gracefully, Pittsburgh let Tuitt take some time off. You know, you go to any other organization, I don't know if they would have let you take that time off and still paid you as well. You know, but Tuitt needed that time off. He had some time to reflect. And he went back to Notre Dame, got his degree, and he felt like, you know what, I think I done did enough in football. 8 years was enough for me. Right now it's time for me to move on, take care of my family, and just see what else is out there. So that's one thing I do like a lot about this generation. Mark, they'll check their bank accounts. Once they check their bank accounts, they'll have other avenues on making money as well. And they choose their family over football once they get to that certain situation. So they're not like the old generation where we played, you know, 12, 15 years. You know, these guys, when it comes down to money and knowing what to do with their money and also just finding different avenues, that's exactly what they do. They're wide open. They're not closed-minded. So I think over the past couple of 4-5 years, we've seen a lot of young guys retire early, you know, and I love it. They don't have to play, you know, double-digit years. So for me, just seeing Tuitt, you know, coming to a conclusion, Pittsburgh giving him the time and the grace. And he was like, you know what, it's about time for me to move on. I'm happy for Tuitt. Because for me, man, my personal opinion, I think everybody should be happy. And Tuitt did everything he needed to do, not only as an NFL player, but just coming to the city of Pittsburgh and handling his business and making a name and impacting the city as how he plays. So much love to Tuitt. Success on your next venture in life. I know you got avenues. Congrats on getting a degree at Notre Dame, and prayers to you and your family forever.
Yeah, I know he was trying to work his way back from a knee injury. He had surgery on that early in the 2021 season. It was always, when's Tuitt coming back? When's Tuitt coming back? And I know when there was media availability with head coach Mike Tomlin, that was something that reporters would consistently ask him about. And so we now have an answer. And again, coming off his best season as well in
Correct.
2020. And it's a player who we don't always talk about, Ike. I know when we talk about the front seven, the two players we really hone in on are TJ Watt and Cam Hayward. And This was a player that the Steelers really, really missed this last season. And that was evident. It showed not just on the field, but statistically as well. Now, I'll say this. You mentioned the players retiring early. The two players that immediately came to my mind, Ike, were Andrew Luck and Luke Kuechly at the top of their game when they retire. And people are like, wait a second, why now? And like you said, it's this new school of thought where it's like, I've gotten what I need to out of football and I can go pursue other endeavors in life. And you're seeing this more and more and more frequently, in my opinion, whereas in the past, it was like, how long can you hang on? Because we all know what the NFL stands for, not for long, just given the average career span of most players.
Yeah, I think Luke Kuechly, though, Mark, was a different situation. I think he kind of had to because Luke was getting concussed a lot. So, football kind of made him, shut it down early. And, yes, you're right. He was at the top of his game. If anybody can just go back and YouTube Luke Kuechly, man, if you ain't understand the quarterback on defense, that was exactly him. He already beat the play before the play started. That was Luke Kuechly. His IQ was unbelievable. His instincts was out of this world. When it comes down to Andrew, like, you know what, man, I probably just lost the love. And I get it. I've done everything I needed to do. I want to be able to play and enjoy my kids, my family. I don't want to walk around hurt all day, every day. I think I done took enough hits as well. Let me go ahead and shut it down. So that's what these kids now, these young men, I'm sorry, I don't want to say kids. These young men aren't fighting through injuries for the sake of just playing football. They're finding different avenues and they're taking care of their money and they getting out when they want to, which is something I love to see.
Several Steelers are going to need to step up now, Ike. And I remember leading up to April's draft, we thought that the Steelers might take a player like a Jordan Davis, his Georgia teammate, Wyatt along the defensive line to shore up the defensive line. Now, I know the Steelers later in the draft got DeMarvin Leal out of Texas A&M, but he's one of several players who's going to need to step up now because Tyson Alualu will be back, but he's 35 years old. Isaiah Loudermilk, Chris Wormley, Montravius Adams as well. They're going to have to step up to fill that void that Tuitt leaves. And I'm not going to lie to you, Ike, like this kind of hurts from the standpoint of like you're losing a very, very good player in Stefan Tuitt along that front seven. So it's like in this league, it's next man up, but I can't help but think of, don't get me wrong, like I'm very happy with Kenny Pickett with the selection in the first round, getting the quarterback of the future. But this is why we were having those conversations leading up to April's draft of the front seven, something that you have to shore up, not just because it was a problem last year, but look across the division, look at Cleveland, look at Baltimore, two smash mouth football teams that can consistently run the football, control the clock, and just impose their will on the game. And so I'm looking to those other players to step up now that Tuitt has decided to retire.
Yeah, since Tuitt left, I can see the Pittsburgh Steelers going more towards a 4-3 than a 3-4. You got to use big bodies like Tyson in the inside. So I think Tyson will take two. They'll just want Tyson a little lower just to push the pocket, so say. They'll let Cam get vertical whenever he wants to. So you sign Miles Jack out of free agency, so you let Miles kind of be Miles. You kind of let them roam around. Hopefully Devin can go back to the rookie year, Devin, and Devin can roam around too and just read and react off of plays. And hopefully he's lost some weight in his speed and he's back to close to 100% as of a couple of years ago. That's how I look at it. TJ Watt, so say TJ Watt, they'll let TJ Watt just be TJ Watt, but from a 4-3 perspective. So I think they'll go more for a 4-3 than a 3-4 because right now I don't know if they have the 3-4 personnel to do it. I think they'll try it out during the preseason and training camp, but I think it'll be a good hybrid defense. But I think for the most part on what Coach T just known for, what he's known for from the Tampa 2 when he won the Super Bowl, then he went and he had the number 1, number 2 defense between us two when he was with the Minnesota Vikings. He was defense coordinator. He was running that Tampa 2. So I think they'll go back to the Tampa 2, but they'll tweak it to make it a Pittsburgh Tampa 2/3-4. I'm sure they'll come up with a name for it from that defensive scheme. But the personnel, from my just personal opinion, it says 4-3 instead of 3-4. So I think we'll be seeing a lot of 4-3 going on, twists and stunts with the defensive end and the outside linebacker. So yeah, it's a whole lot of that going on. And plus, you done picked up a head coach and Brian Flores as one of your assistants on defense, so that's a steal. So I think personally, Mark, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to go more towards a 4-3 than a 3-4. We will see at the end of the season how many snaps they did that.
Brian Flores as the cheat code is what they're saying. I'm listening to what the players are saying, Ike, in terms of his coaching ability, his savviness, and specifically shoring up that front seven. You've been on this shift from the 3-4 to the 4-3 defense for weeks now, Ike. So the listeners and the viewers of this show, Ike has said this repeatedly when it comes to fruition, when we get into OTAs, training camp, preseason, regular season. You heard it here first on the Bleav in Steelers show, courtesy of Psychic Ike Taylor. Ike, before we move on, there are a lot of free agents available along the interior defensive line. Is there someone you want to see the Steelers get? I can read you a list of names. Let me know how you want to go about doing this. But is there someone out there who is available as a free agent that you'd like to see the Steelers target? Let me know. I've got a list of names if you'd like me to read them off.
Give me a few names, Mark.
All right. Eddie Goldman played with the Chicago Bears. Brandon Williams has been with the Ravens. Ndamukong Suh, who's played with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 35 years old. Suh is.
All right, though. Ndamukong Suh, bro, will fit perfect.
Yeah.
If the Pittsburgh Steelers want to go to a 4-3. You know, so you have a veteran guy. Tyson is coming off. Tyson a little low is coming off an injury, correct? Mm-hmm. You have a veteran guy who can step in and just already can fill the spot, and he already got a nasty attitude when it comes down to playing football. That's exactly what you want as a Pittsburgh Steeler. Somebody who can help Cam Hayward out and take the load off of Cam. So Cam won't have to play every snap, every game anymore if you get the Ndamukong Suh. And now you got depth at a defensive tackle situation or / defensive end situation. Depending on if you want to go a big front, you can have Ndamukong Suh, you can have Tyson, you can have Cam as a DN and put TJ Watt as the other DN, and we just gonna roll, depending on the personnel. So it's a lot of mixes you can do if you pick up Ndamukong Suh. It's just at what price, what's the cost? That's the only thing we're looking for. We want to know what Ndamukong Suh, how much he wants, you know. So time will tell with that. But for me, you didn't have to go too far down that line of free agencies. Ndamukong Suh will fit perfect, and that's one of the reasons why, because the Steelers need help at defensive line, and you're getting a veteran guy, a Super Bowl veteran guy who knows how to win and plays exactly how you want to play football, and that's nasty.
Steelers have about $20 million in salary cap space, so they could make it happen. And I love the old man strength on the offensive line that you would have, considering that Cam, Alu, and Ndamukong Suh are all past the age of 30. But that, and then it's saying with DeMarvin Leal, your rookie draft pick, it's like, look, we can keep all of you guys fresh, but if you're not playing up to the standard, we're going to rotate the other guy in, keep everyone fresh. But it's like, who's going to play the best ball to stay out on the field? And it's not like you're saying, hey, Ndamukong Suh, we need you on every single snap. I think he'd be able to better focus and allocate his energy towards he's not having to play all 4 downs. You could sub him in and out. You can do it based on series, but you could keep those guys fresh just to bring in one other established player to help fortify the interior of that defensive line, and specifically at the line of scrimmage, Ike, in the A and B gaps. It's going to be so important last year, because if there was one hole that the Steelers had last season and they were able to overcome it, you're not going to have success in this league if teams can run the ball at will on you. And they need to make sure that is shored up this upcoming season. No,
that's exactly what happened last year. Once a team can run on you, they just control the game, control the clock, and they're able to pretty much to go any, many, money, mo on plays they want to, because they have the running game going. So that's something the Pittsburgh Steelers will address or need to address this offseason and this year on stopping the run.
Omar Khan, the money man, get a favorable deal done with Ndamukong Suh. I'm just speaking this into existence. 3 other names I want to mention. Larry Ogunjobi, who was supposed to go to the Bears. Longtime Bengals defensive lineman, did not pass his physical. He's still out there. Sheldon Richardson's still out there. Gerald McCoy is still out there. So there are talented players. Ike, I think you have some savviness there saying, what's the price point? I think that's probably going to be most important to see how the Steelers shore that up, or if they decide to roll with the players that they have. All right, Ike, let's go to top position groups, and we're going to start with linebackers. This is going to be a pretty quick segment, because on the interior, Ike, there were really only 2 names that really stuck out to me to say, this inside linebacker is a Pro Bowl caliber kind of player. And I want to start with the Baltimore Ravens, Patrick Queen, 22 years old, out of LSU. So I know you're familiar with Queen, considering he's a Louisiana boy, but he was the top linebacker that I had. And again, specifically, we're talking about inside linebackers in the division.
Yeah, I had Patrick Queen. Well, you know what? I'm also throwing Miles Jack. I think Miles Jack working with Brian Flores and coming to a whole new different situation, the first round draft pick as well when he came out. I think Miles will get back to where he needs to get to. I think sometimes, they say the grass ain't always greener, but just coming to Pittsburgh, it's real green in Pittsburgh, and I'm just saying that because I didn't see too many guys from free agency come from other teams when I played, and it was like, man, now we see why y'all win over here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because y'all have a heck of a coaching staff, one, and really y'all just play for each other, and that's the difference. It's not a lot of me guys. So I think Patrick Queen is one of the premier, not only Pro Bowl caliber linebackers, Mark, but we talking about all pro linebackers, and we can't say that for too many people. I think Miles Jack will have a Pro Bowl season. I would take Patrick Queen on having a all pro season. And we saw what Patrick Queen did last year with a depleted defense, if you know what I'm saying. Pretty much 6-7 guys on defense, starters as well, didn't play. So, and who was the highlight? It was Patrick Queen. He did everything he could do. So just knowing Patrick Queen coming out of LSU and what he did at LSU, but let alone he went to another organization who knows coaching staff, who knows how to coach up and get guys ready, especially on that defensive side. Patrick Queen, I think, is going to be an all-pro. I'm going to throw Miles Jack in there. Miles Jack going to be a Pro Bowler.
I like your prediction, Ike. I have one more player I got to mention. Logan Wilson from the Bengals, leading tackler from last year's Super Bowl team. So I want to give him a shot too. Sorry, go ahead, Ike.
Okay. No, my dog Brutus is scratching the door. He wants to go out. Hold on a second.
Brutus making an appearance here on today's episode of the Bleav in Steelers show. I absolutely love it. He wants his camera time, Mike, and can you blame him, considering he's staying in the home of Swag and You? We're going to have to get Brutus some apparel too, Ike. Get everything on brand at this point.
Might as well, right?
Absolutely love Brutus. When I've come over, Ike, Brutus is like a little heater pack. He just lays down on my feet, and I don't know why, because my feet are stinky too. He just takes a seat right there, and it's a little heater pack, and I didn't even need a blanket or anything to stay warm.
I know, right?
All right. Let's go to cornerbacks, Ike, because linebackers, other than those three players on the interior, I know we could count TJ Watt. I know we could count other edge rushers, but for the purposes of this exercise, they were more edge rushers, defensive ends. We're going to move to cornerbacks. I know we were talking before the show about the two Baltimore Ravens cornerbacks, but I've got the top cornerback in the division, Denzel Ward for the Browns.
You took mine, you son of a gun.
You were trying to trick me pre-show, weren't you? Okay, and here's why. 25 years old, he got the bag this offseason. Contract that could be worth up to $100 million, 71 and some change is guaranteed. But you're talking about a corner who came into the same draft as Baker Mayfield and has just been an absolute shutdown corner. And it's someone that you need in the AFC considering how good these offenses are. I look at what the Bengals have done with their receivers, with the trio of beasts that they have at the receiver position. You need a player to be able to offset that. And Ward has done that when he's been on the field. 21, he shuts down one side of the field, Ike, and I think he's going to start playing the best football of his career. It's already been very impressive early on, and there's a reason why he got that massive contract extension with the Browns. But I see you trying to psych me out, Ike. Didn't fall for it this time.
Yeah, I tried to get you. But yeah, we can get Miss Courtney her staff. I'm gonna go ahead and say Denzel Ward and Marlon Humphreys. Them the two I was going to talk about for the top two cornerbacks in the AFC North. Denzel Ward to me is a all-pro caliber cornerback. We saw how much he got paid, and it's a reason why how much Denzel Ward got paid. I mean, the man just shuts down one side of the field. So when you shut down one side of the field, you wind up getting picks. You wind up shutting down receivers. Not only that, we talking about how important tackling is, and we say tackling is a want-to, Mark. And that's exactly what this guy wants to do. He wants to tackle. Now, Denzel Ward, I think, is graced with both. He can play bumper run, which you're on the line of scrimmage and you're checking the receiver, or he could just sit back and diagnose plays and play off, which is hard. You're either going to be good at one or the other. This guy, Denzel Ward, is good at both. And we all know his ball skills. Man, when the ball is in the air, he feels like he's a receiver as well. But my second guy was Marlon Humphrey. And the reason why I like Marlon Humphrey, he's just an old school throwback Baltimore Ravens kind of cornerback. Just up in your face, coach, let's call man defense. I don't want to sit in the zone. Let me bump and run all day and let me shut down this receiver. Now, Marlon isn't going to get as many interceptions as Denzel Ward because he doesn't like playing off coverage. But if you just want a guy who's going to disrupt time and get in your face, play big receivers, and also come up on a run as well, that's going to be Marlon Humphreys. If you just want to call man coverage all day, the personnel that the Baltimore Ravens have between him and Marcus Peters, they're just going to play that coverage all day and let their linebackers roam free in the Patrick Queens. So for me, I think these two, I think Denzel Ward is an all-pro caliber corner. I think Marlon Humphreys is a Pro Bowl caliber corner. But I think if you put these two on the same team, man, they'll be able to lock down any kind of thing you want, any kind of receiver you want them to. But I'm going to go with Denzel Ward. There's a reason why Denzel Ward got the bag, because Denzel Ward can do it both. He can play on or he can play off, and he can make plays whether he's on or off, and he doesn't mind tackling. I think Marlon is more of a bump and run corner than anything.
I'll go to Humphrey in just a second, Ike. I'm going to go back to week 9 of the 2021 season. Denzel Ward going head-to-head against Jamar Chase. Holds Chase to 6 catches for 49 yards, which doesn't sound amazing, but considering what Chase did to other corners in this league as a rookie was very impressive. Ward had a 99-yard interception return in that game. And after the game, this is what Chase told the media, and this is a direct quote. He says, the first person I really started to study was that freaking cat from the Browns. I like his game a lot. He's so good and so patient. He doesn't get beat often. And when he does, he gets beat with his eyes, end quote, Ike. Listen to the players.
Correct. Now, you're doing right. I mean, Coach LeBeau said it best. Your eyes can be your best friend or your worst enemy. If you have your eyes where they need to be, you're going to forever be in position to make plays. If you got your eyes in the wrong area, your butt going to be sitting on the bench with me.
Oh, man. All right. So, Ike, with Humphrey, I'm surprised you didn't mention this because you were talking about the bump and run coverage, almost the Mel Blount style of taking out a receiver and physically imposing your will. And the reason why I mentioned Mel Blount is 1978, Ike, the NFL outlawed to where you can't touch a receiver beyond 5 yards because of how good Mel Blount was at absolutely disrupting other receivers. So he's got that. Humphrey can play inside or outside, and he typically plays in the slot. Now, I go back to the 2020 season, Ike, when he led the NFL in forced fumbles. He had 8, and it's the old peanut punch. Peanut Charles Tillman, your old college teammate, was great at this. And this is why this is important, Ike, because when we talk about defensive backs, we always focus on the interceptions. And don't get me wrong, interceptions are great. But here's the analogy that I'm going to say in terms of turnover creation, if you're actually going to be smart about football. Interceptions is like batting average in Major League Baseball. But when you want to talk about turnover creation as a whole, include forced fumbles. So when you're talking about both interceptions and forced fumbles, you're talking about on-base percentage. It's a better indication of how effective a player is. And I don't know why. More people don't realize this. Again, batting average in interceptions is on one side of the spectrum. Forced fumbles and interceptions is more like on base percentage. And it's more indicative of what kind of impact a player is making, because I don't care how a turnover is created. If a turnover is creative, that puts your offense in good position, you win the turnover battle, how much more often you are and more likely you are to win football games. I don't know why more people don't have this conversation about the ability to force fumbles and how that factors into just overall defense and how players are evaluated. Your college teammate, Charles Tillman, was the very best at it too.
Yeah, you're causing turnovers. You're giving the offense more opportunities. It's the same thing as interceptions. You causing turnovers and you're giving your offense more opportunities. It's just not as glamored as the interceptions, so say. But it's an art, you know. That's not the same thing as interceptions. It's not easy to do. It's not easy to knock a football out, let alone make the tackle and try to create a turnover. That's what you got to do when you're trying to peanut punch. And you got to have a lot of confidence in doing that. You got to have a lot of practice on doing that. So between Marlon Humphreys and Charles Peanut Tillman, Marlon perfected what Tillman had started. You know, Tillman said, you know what, these interceptions are cool, but I'm going to come out with my peanut punch. And we're doing the same thing, creating turnovers. So y'all creating turnovers on catching the ball. I'm creating turnovers off these fumbles. So by the end of the day, coach going to say how many interceptions you had. You're going to say 3. Coach going to say how many turnovers you had, Peanut. Peanut going to say, man, I had 7 turnovers. So when we come down to these contracts, y'all going to say what y'all want to say about these interceptions. But I gave my team, I got my defense off the field. I gave another possession to my offense to be on the field. So what we talking about?
Ike, this is why, in my opinion, Tillman should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I don't know if he'll ever get there. But again, I could show you statistical charts where it's like if you combine forced fumbles and interceptions, Tillman, during his time in the league, at the very top, if you want to combine the two. And if the outcome's the same, getting your defense off the field, getting your offense on the field, to me, it's like, what's the difference? So there's that. We got to show some love to the other side of Baltimore's defense. A few other corners I want to mention, Ike. Marcus Peters, 29 years old, missed all of last season, torn ACL right before the season started in practice. He had 4 forced fumbles in 2020. He's always around the ball. In every NFL season he's played, he's had at least 3 interceptions. And, oh, by the way, he's taken it to the house 6 times in his NFL career as well. So he's another player, and Baltimore's going to have both of those players back. Again, Peters missed all of last season. Humphrey only played in 12 games a year ago. 2 other players on Baltimore where we just forget about the fact where it's like, oh, Baltimore fell off. Why'd they fall off? Key players had season-ending injuries. Both Humphrey and Peters were part of that in the 2021 season, Ike.
Yeah, Baltimore got a lot of depth in their secondary. With your 2 starting corners going down, and you just got to rely on your young guys. So for me, I think Baltimore, their defense coordinator loves man coverage. He will love it. He will love it much more this year because he feel like he has enough depth on that side of the ball to let his corners just lock up and play man. So, yeah, Baltimore pound for pound, I think they have the deepest and probably the best set of corners in the league.
And we haven't even talked about Kyle Fuller yet either, who I was doing some research for this segment. I'm like, when did Kyle Fuller, the 2-time Pro Bowler, he's an all-pro cornerback for the Bears, and I know he went to Denver, but he signs a 1-year, $2.5 million deal. And I would understand that too, though, but it's just like I see what Baltimore is doing to try to counter what the Bengals have done offensively, and that's what this is. It's a low-risk, high-reward move.
Chase had a field day when he played the Ravens. And that's still stuck. That's still stuck. I mean, Chase had a field day against a lot of secondaries, but Chase had a field day. And when you think about a field day when you think about a receiver having a field day against a secondary, you're not thinking about the Baltimore Ravens because you're like, okay, them boys got some dogs back on that back end. But Chase became a monster when he played the Baltimore Ravens, and he cut up, so say, as they say in New Orleans.
Ahkello Witherspoon as well. The fact that I'm looking at this, Ike, 2 years and $8 million contract. It is a bargain for the Steelers, and opposing quarterbacks have low ratings against him. I'm excited to see what he can do this upcoming season because the rest of the Steelers cornerbacks, it's a little bit of a prove it. A lot of them are young and unproven, but who can step up? Ahkello Witherspoon, someone I got to show some love to also. And part of this is because I love saying his name for the Bengals. Chidobe Awuzie as well. I think he's an unsung player on the Bengals secondary as well. But Ahkello Witherspoon and Chidobe, two other players that get honorable mentions in this conversation.
For sure.
All right, Ike, we get to go to the safety position. And it's no secret who we're going to start with. It's Minkah magic time. Minkah Fitzpatrick's the top safety in the division. And I go back to the 2019 season when the Steelers traded for him with the Dolphins. Right. Thank you, Miami, for sending him to Pittsburgh.
Right.
I would make that trade 10 times out of 10 again. And I go back to that game when they were playing the Colts. They're driving down, and Minkah gets the pick six. Who was the backup for the Colts that was in? Anyways, he takes it to the house, and it's a pick six, and it completely changes the momentum of the game considering you've got Mason Rudolph, Duck Hodges as your quarterback, and you're still able to go 500. And I think a lot of that was the playmaking of Minkah Fitzpatrick on the back end of the Steelers secondary. Let me look up who this quarterback was for the Colts, Ike.
Yeah, Minkah for me is a no-brainer. You know, we just see what Minkah do on the field, Mark. There is no other safety in the AFC North who can play like Minkah. You know, when you want to talk about having a swap for a swap, you know, you get a first round caliber safety. For me, if Minkah can continue to stay healthy, you're going to get a Hall of Fame safety, Minkah. So say Minkah instinctively just make plays. He don't think twice about it. He just believe it. He see it and he go, which is hard to do. Other than T.J. Watt, your top three players on that defense is Cam, which is a Pro Bowler.
All pro, but yeah.
All pro. I'm sorry, all pro.
Mm-hmm.
TJ is an all pro, and Minkah is an all pro. So when you look at them three guys, Pittsburgh have three all pro caliber guys on defense sitting in one city. But for me, Minkah is just a no-brainer. He does everything you can't coach. You know, he's very instinctive. You can't coach somebody to be instinctive. If anybody who have watched the Bleav Network podcast show with Mark and I with Coach Tomlin said he's seen this before. And what he meant by that was he done had a lot of conversations with a guy called Troy Polamalu, who's now in the Hall of Fame, that he's having now with Minkah Fitzpatrick. So when you got a coach who's been coaching in the league with no losing season, who's saying these conversations are familiar, that says a lot about Minkah Fitzpatrick. So no, there's only one Minkah Fitzpatrick. For me, I think there's only one all-pro safety in the AFC North, and he's with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes, an all-pro in 2019 and 2020. I think teams this past season went away from Minkah because they know how opportunistic he is at the safety position. Ike, it was Brian Hoyer who he intercepted, and it was just a key moment in the game. And I remember that was the first year the Steelers had Fitzpatrick. And it's like, man, if the Colts score here, they're probably going to put the game away because Pittsburgh's offense just, it is what it is. And that was when they finished dead last in the NFL in rushing. And Minkah takes it to the house, and it completely changed and flipped the script, changed the momentum of the game. And there are only a handful of players that are like that. He's going to be the highest paid safety in NFL history after this season.
That's what the Steelers said. Steelers said they will make him the highest paid safety.
So I expect him to absolutely ball out this upcoming season. I'm excited to see him in a Steelers uniform for many years to come because he's great on that back end. And again, to the Miami Dolphins, thanks for sending him our way. Thanks for Coach Brian Flores as well. We welcome both of them with open arms here in the 412, Ike.
For sure. Coach Brian Flores didn't even know he was coming to Pittsburgh, unless he did know he was coming to Pittsburgh. He said, man, let me go out on and ship Minkah over there because I'll be there in a couple of years. So
Okay, Ike, my number 2 safeties might surprise you. I've got rookie Kyle Hamilton here out of Notre Dame. 6'4", 220 is like a linebacker playing at the safety position. I know he's a rookie. I don't want to put too much pressure on him, but just from what I saw on tape, I have high expectations for him. And it was like, as soon as – here's how I evaluate the Ravens pick. I think if you talk to any Steelers fans, be like, hey, what'd you think about the Ravens drafting Kyle Hamilton? They'd be like – and that's how I know when a team hits on a pick where it's like, talk to their opponents, the opposing fans, about how they feel. I have high expectations for Kyle Hamilton. I'm surprised he stuck around as long as he did in this draft, and I think he's just going to be next in line for the Ravens at the safety position. I've got him as my number 2 safety in the division, even as a rookie.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. I look at Kyle Hamilton as a Derwin James coming out of Florida State. You know, the same body type, the same build. I think Cal has more range than Derwin, though. He can be in the box as well as freelance and play free safety. So yeah, I wouldn't discredit that pick, Mark. I think Kyle Hamilton is a perfect pick. You're not putting too much pressure on him because I know coming out the rip, they're going to put him number 1 on the depth chart for the Baltimore Ravens and say this is your position to lose. So go out and handle your business. So this is perfect for Kyle Hamilton. This is perfect for your pick as well. I think he got drafted in the first round. Is going to be, in my mind, a little more athletic than a Derwin James. And this is exactly what the Baltimore Ravens wanted and needed. They was looking for Ed Reed, and they found the Ed Reed caliber kind of safety. Not saying he will be an Ed Reed, but I'm just saying just his expectations are Ed Reed-like.
Yeah, if you quote Ike for that, get the full clip in there. Make sure you don't cut him off too soon because I don't want to misquote you. Say, Kyle Hamilton said Reed. That's not what we're saying here to everybody. I've got 2 other names I need to mention, Ike, and I know Brutus is ready to roll, ready to make his cameo appearance here on Bleav in Steelers. I could hear Brutus in the background. I've got Jesse Bates III, the safety for the Bengals. He has stayed healthy in his career and is a key player on the back end of that secondary, a team that went to the Super Bowl a season ago. And then Marcus Williams just signed with the Ravens. He's coming over from the New Orleans Saints, has been a solid player in New Orleans, but is now a member of that Ravens secondary that is going to be reloaded. They get healthy. They sign Kyle Fuller. They bring in Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams, a 5-year, $70 million contract, just going to help shore up that Baltimore secondary. And it goes back to what you were saying with Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow and company absolutely torching the Bengals secondary. It's always interesting to see, okay, which chess moves do teams make? It's clear that the Ravens wanted to shore things up on the back end of their defense heading into this upcoming season. So again, Jesse Bates III out of Cincinnati, Marcus Williams help round out the safety position in the AFC North.
Yeah, I think for the Ravens though, Mark, they see their defense coordinator. He have to stop being so stubborn and always call man coverages. Because that's easy. Because when you look at the personnel, yes, you do have man guys who can play man all day and every day. But from an offensive coordinator standpoint, it's so easy to have picks and screens and crosses and just put you in situations, because we did see Marlon Humphrey not struggle, but teams understood what the DC was calling from the Ravens, and they just ran a lot of over routes. I think the Raiders, matter of fact, the Raiders had won in overtime against the Baltimore Ravens off of one play, and that was schematically because they already knew. So I'm just saying I think they should mix it up. Even though your personnel said we can run man all day, but just mix it up a little.
That's some insight, Ike. And when we get into the season too, I always like talking during your Taylor Talk segment when we can talk X's and O's and we can show it on the screen to show what's happening there. But you mentioned like shallow drag routes when you run trips and bunches, and particularly when secondary, what I always notice is when all the defensive backs are on the same level, it's very easy to pick one player with another. And if you do it right, it can be allowed. And look, like, I'm not saying that you can have blatant offensive pass interference, but you can rub one defensive back off of another and create an easy pitch and catch from quarterback to receiver, just based purely on scheme. So I'm excited to talk to you about this upcoming season, because we talk about that all the time here on the Bleav in Steelers show during your Taylor Talk segments, Ike.
Yeah, it's about that time, Mark. Once the season.
Almost.
Yeah, 90-some days left. So once the season come, man, we gonna hit the ground running.
Yeah, and look, like, we're gonna talk ad nauseum this offseason about the quarterback battle, and it's funny, Ike, because it's just like anytime you talk about that, our numbers shoot way up, but it's like we got other things to talk about here too on the Bleav in Steelers show. Ike, you're the absolute best as we wrap up here on today's show. I want to thank you, the Bleav Network, and our producers over at Brinks TV, led by Courtney Vargas, John Brinkus, Herbert Diaz, Lucy Oden, producer Yensi as well. I want to make sure I give a shout out to her as well for all their help. Yes. I said I couldn't forget it on last show. Like, I could not forget it, or I'd have trouble to play.
You ain't forgetting that. Once you say it, it's in your memory bank.
Yeah, I was going to go with the sleeveless cutoff shirt today, Ike, but it's like, listen, it's Monday. We're going to ease into the week. Today's sponsor, betonline.ag. And I want to thank the listeners and the viewers of today's Bleav in Steelers show. Thank you for tuning in and making us part of your day.
Yeah, I second everything you just said, Mark. Thanks to betonline.ag. Thanks to Brinks TV. Thanks to Bleav in Network. Thanks to my dog, Mark, for show. Thanks for Miss Courtney and her staff for making us looking sound and being all professional with the ad libs and the backgrounds. Make sure y'all go check out Bleav.com and get your Ike Swaggin' You shirt.
Yeah, I see you've already tweeted it, Ike. I have also retweeted it. So check the show notes for our social media information on how you can get a shirt, Ike. Like I said, I want all the colors, men's, medium, and I'll leave it at that. Ike, you're the absolute best again. For Ike Taylor, I'm Mark Bergin.
I'm sorry. Make sure y'all subscribe and give us 5 stars.
Of course.
The one to thank the fans and the listeners and the viewers for always tuning in to the Bleav in Steelers podcast with Mark and I. Appreciate y'all love and support. Make sure y'all 5-star us, please. That's how we like it.
For Ike Taylor, I'm Mark Bergin. Thank you for watching the Bleav in Steelers show. We will see you next week. Until then, take care, and so long, everybody.
Peace.